How's it going, everyone? Welcome to Keep It Classy Tech. One of the most common questions or concerns that I get is how to pick the right TV size. So in this video, I hope to help some of you figure out the best size that works for you and the best methods for figuring out that size. So the first things to consider when picking the size of your new TV is size is absolutely king. The reason for that is the size of your TV will be seen in 100% of content 100% of the time. No matter what you watch or play, you're always going to notice that size difference. A higher quality or better looking TV will not be visible or recognized 100% of the time in 100% of content. So, what you need to do is try to get enough information of how much better is TV B than TV A. Then trying to figure out if that quality advantage is worth a sacrifice in how much size. So the other thing to really consider is your actual viewing environment. How far are you from the TV? How much space do you have? So I'm going to use my particular room as an example. So where my dog is sitting is where I normally sit. Now, when I originally measured to see how far I was from the TV, I made a mistake. I measured with the seat as you see it. Problem is, most of the time, I recline the seat. That actually made more of a difference than I thought. So this is where I recommend you break out a measuring tape and you measure from the point of where your eyes are actually going to be, not so much just the seat that you sit in. As it turns out, on my couch, reclining put me 2 feet back further than I originally measured or thought. So keep that in mind. You want to go from where your eyes normally are to the actual screen itself. Measure that distance, and then we can try to track down what size will work for you based on that distance. So here's my TV setup. That's a 65-inch TV right there. So it's not bad, and from my seating distance of around 9.5 to 10 feet reclined, watching 16 by 9 content like this, it's what I would personally consider the minimum. So if you know anything about me, I previously had a 77-inch, and before that I had an 85-inch. And the reason I went from 85 to 77 was sacrificing some size to go from an LCD to an OLED. I then sold that 77-inch OLED to move up to an 83-inch OLED, but in the meantime, 65-inch is the most common size that I test for reviews. So that's what you're seeing. And here's my problem with 65 at my viewing distance is going into 2.4 to 1 or Cinewide, whatever you want to call it, content where you get the black bars. It cuts off enough of the screen that when I watch that, it is distracting to me, and I do really wish it was bigger. So measuring from where my head would be to the screen, like I said, I'm about 10 feet or just under 10 feet, and at 65 inches, it's just too small. So one of my plans for that was to move the TV off the wall onto this new entertainment stand to bring it just about a foot closer. The problem that I didn't think about is I have kids and I have pets. And so if my cat and dog are chasing each other, which my cat loves to jump up on the entertainment stand to get away from her, that's going to be a problem if the TV gets damaged. The reason I mention this is you have these other things that you may not think about in your setup that I'm just trying to bring attention to that may alter what you have in mind. So the first biggest thing when picking a new TV and trying to decide the size is do all your measurements, do as much planning and thinking about it beforehand so that you are absolutely set on a particular size. So whether it's going to go on the wall or on the entertainment center, measure both. Make sure that if it's going to go on the entertainment center, that the feet placement or the stand placement will fit both width-wise and depth-wise. Make sure that it can support the weight. If it's going on the wall, make sure that it's not too wide to bump into anything next to the stand, or maybe you don't want it to overhang too far of the stand underneath it. Then measure the height. Make sure that the height of the TV isn't going to be too high for anything that's above it. Like I said, measure the depth and then also measure how far your stand is from the wall And if you need to have wires behind it or be able to get access behind it, take that all into account. And if you are wall mounting it, make sure you get like full measurements for the mount and the VESA pattern on the TV and how high or low those holes are on the TV, and make sure you get all that figured out. And you can go check out Be the Installer for his videos on wall mounting and how to figure all that out in much more detail. Alright, so now once you have all your measurements, now how do you figure out what size works best? Well, for the most part, just go for as big as you can fit. But there's a lot of online different metrics and guides for trying to figure that out. A lot of them are based like this, where it's based on resolution. And what that is saying is 1.5 times the height of a 4K TV would be optimal, and that's based on resolution. The problem with basing on resolution alone is that it doesn't take into account other things such as just exactly how far you are, your budget, and just the eye comfort of possibly being too close to the display. And then for 8K TVs, it's suggesting 0.75 times the height, which most people are not going to do. It's just not realistic. So let's try to get an example of how much screen you gain by going up in size. So I'm going to start with a 55-inch compared to a 65-inch. All this is done on displaywars.com. You can go there, put in whatever size screen you want, and see how it compares. So you can see going from a 55-inch to a 65-inch, which generally isn't a whole lot of cost difference, gets you an increase of about 40% more screen area. Now normally if you think 55 to 65-inch, you don't think it's that much of a difference. But in reality, like I said, it's about 40% more screen area. Now, if you were to go from a 65 to a 75-inch, then you're gaining about 33% more screen area, or roughly a third more visual area of the screen to look at. So then when you go to look at an OLED, which comes in a 77-inch instead of a 75-inch, then the difference is 40% again, just like going from 55 to 65. So you can see how as you make these jumps, they're typically a lot more screen area than most people think, just based on the size measured diagonally. And now if you currently have a 65 and you're debating about going 77 or 83, you can see that if you do go 83, that's a 63% improvement in your screen area versus the 40% of going with the 77. I can tell you from experience that I had went a couple years ago from a 65 to trying 75, and it wasn't as much as I had wanted, and it was the 65 to 85-inch jump that really is the upgrade I was expecting. And now if you compare 65 to 85 inches, that's a over 71% increase in screen area. And that's the kind of increase that, in my opinion, you go from watching your TV to really experiencing it, or being just far more immersed into it. Alright, so what if you're looking at your upgrade and you're debating between an LCD or an OLED and you're looking at 75 or 77? It doesn't sound like much because it's only 2 inches, but that 2 inches is actually a 5% increase, and it is noticeable. And if you're looking at a really higher end 75-inch LCD compared to maybe last year model 83-inch OLED, then you're going to be looking at like a 22% size difference right there. As of the time that I'm making this video, the 83-inch LG C1 can be had for about $4,000, and then you have new 75-inch LCDs coming out for upper threes. So that right there could be a big reason to go for an LG C1 83-inch over one of the new LCDs, or at whatever time you're watching this video, whatever the newer equivalent would be. But if you're looking only at LCDs and you're looking at a 75 versus 85-inch, maybe considering dropping down a model to go with the bigger size, you are going to gain a 28% or just over 28% difference in the screen area. And then on the other side, if you're only looking at OLED and you're trying to decide if you want to go 77 or 83-inch, that's about a 16% increase in screen area to go with the 83 over the 77. And now while that difference is certainly on the smaller end of what we're seeing by increasing to the next tier of size, it is still a notable difference, especially when it's in your home and you're experiencing it. Now, one of the more common debates is, should you go 77-inch OLED or 85-inch LCD? If you were to go with the 85-inch LCD, that is a 22% increase in screen area. So then you decide, is the improvement in image quality by going with the OLED worth losing that screen area? And then finally, the last comparison is 83-inch for the OLED or 85-inch for the LCD. And again, it's only a 2-inch diagonal difference, but it's about a 5% area difference. And in this case, this is where I think most people are okay giving up 5% of the screen to have a X number percentage better display, assuming that, let's say, an OLED works in your environment and you're in a darker room, or maybe you're in a brighter room. Like, that still comes into play. But when you're just looking at size and quality differences, this is a small enough difference that you can go down a little bit to get a better quality. So I hope this helps you to be able to figure out a little bit better what's going to work better for you, your environment, your budget, and what you are looking for. And if you ever need more advice, you're always welcome to come on stream or leave a comment asking a question. But if you come on to the live streams, that's where you're going to be able to get instant response to your questions. So if this video helped you out at all, or you like this video, appreciate if you could hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. And I hope to talk to you all soon. I hope you have a good one. Thanks. I'll see you later.